Hello, welcome to my website, 4eyes. I'm the creator, Melissa Bylow, and the reason I call this 4eyes is kind of a play on words. I thought about 4 eyes as being this nerdy kind of idea of someone with glasses, which I have, and so does my husband. But I also thought about 4 eyes that would be an important kind of foundation to my website. So I chose inspired, because if children are inspired, then they're going to want to learn on their own, which leads to inquiry. Inquiry means they're going to want to learn. They're going to be searching for the answers on their own. Instruction, because the purpose of this is to instruct, and then not only instruct, but also intervene. Students who are struggling should be able to look at this website and review the pages as many times as they need to get that additional support that they might want. So my goals were really tied in with Roblier's design process. The reason I came up with this and the reason I chose the goals that I did was I used the assessment that my husband's class had taken on ratios, a 6th grade math class at Creekside Middle School in Patterson, California. Based on those results, I realized that there was a deficit in the children's ability to find the constant between 2 or more ratios and also to find equivalent ratios. They didn't seem to have a problem putting ratios in necessarily the correct order, but rather finding the relationship between those ratios and working them out as when they would see them in a word problem form. So with this design process, my prerequisite skills was that the learner will write the required components of a ratio. And then from that, I built upon each layer to make my web page, to make the design that I was going to go with, each culminating in a 5-question assessment. This kind of took its own turn when you actually look at the web page I developed itself. So let's go to that. So when you look at my web page, it starts off with the introduction. If you need to contact me, I have my contact information. But it tells you to go to math to start here. So let's go math, start here. And at there you can choose your salsa group. If you're unsure, start at mild and work your way up to spicy. Salsa groups are actually something I used to use when I was teaching in the classroom. And students would take an assessment early on in the class, just a couple of 5 quick questions, and judging from how they did on those 5 questions would determine what level spicy or what level salsa group they would go into. The good side of this was that students were assessing their own learning. They were actually taking accountability for where they were at. And if they chose a group that was too hard for them, obviously the struggles would come into play and they wouldn't be able to get the work done. So it made sense to choose the right group. If they chose a group that was too easy for them, then they ended up having to do the work of other groups and ended up doing way more work than if they had just chosen or gone to the correct group in the first place. So with that, that's how I came up with the idea of using the salsa groups in my lesson design. So first, it's what am I learning? What are they here to learn today? And so I actually let the students know what the Common Core curriculum or standard that it is that they're learning. Then I made a video that's just real quick about why they need to learn ratios. And I actually had students from Mr. Bylow's class, my husband's class, say reasons that use ratios in real life, why they need to know these things. I thought it was better than making a list of things since it comes from actual other students. So hopefully that would gain pull and gain buy-in from other learners. And then how will I know if I learned this? You want to pass with a 3 or better. So you want to get at least 3 of the 5 questions correct. And from there you can go ahead and start at mild for the mild salsa. And at the mild salsa, it just starts off with a video. A basic video teaching, giving instruction, reminding students how ratios work and how to find equivalent ratios. You can see the 6 to 9 and the 2 to 3, how those two correspond together. After they've watched the video, students will go and play Ratio Rumble. And I ran into a problem with with Google Sites in that my iframe started off showing the game, no problem. And then after a couple of days, the game no longer showed up. So I went ahead and added a link that you could go to go play the game separately, just in case it was still a problem, which it has been. So play the game until you reach level 5. Can you multiply the value of the ratio by a constant? So that's the goal of the student. They want to play this game till they get to level 5 at least, to give them enough practice of finding the constant between two or more ratios. And the learner will create equivalent ratios using various constants. So we'll go to the game really quickly just so you can kind of see it. It's with Math Snacks, which is wonderful. And the students actually were begging to play this game. They came in a later class and asked if they could still play math. And I'm going to turn off that sound right there. And new game. And they can continue off where they left off before by playing the continued game before. And that just kind of gives them the rules. They can choose their person. I always choose the penguin, just because my husband loves penguins. And we'll start off at level 1. And you make the formula, you make the ratio by connecting the dots. And or not the dots, but the potions. And each time you make a potion, the recipe changes. So it's never constantly the same thing. So just a quick show you, I'm competing against this Daisy person. And I need 1 red to every 2 blues. So 1 red, 2 blues. But I can also multiply that. So I can have 2 reds, let's go this way, to 4 blues. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops, nope. Sorry. 4 reds to 2 blues. Wow, that's not going to work. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. And these lightning strikes actually make it to zap the other person. So that's how the game is played. And then after they've gotten to level 5, or after they are at level 5, they can go and play the Kahoot! Game. And we actually played this as a class. And the first game has 10 questions, not 5. But all subsequent games have 5 questions each. And then following the Kahoot!, which is their assessment, they can move on up to medium salsa. This one is a video I actually made for the class. And you can actually see the word problems now. So they're learning to use the word problem along with the numbers to see how the two correlate together. Then they get to go and play again. And again, my iframes just aren't working with me here. And this time they get to play Ratio Blaster, which is finding the equal ratios again. But this time it switches it up a little bit. It's not always as easy to see what the constant is between the two ratios. They look like they may not be related, but it takes a little more thought. So with that, after they've played the game, then they can go to Kahoot! Again. And this one is a 5-question. This one is a 5-question Kahoot! And after they played Kahoot! And they do well, they get at least 3 out of 5, then they can move on to Spicy Salsa, which is another video I made. And you can see where I've highlighted key terms as I've corresponded it with the ratio below and how to solve the problem. They go to play, and the game they play next is a motorcycle game where they're actually competing against 4 other people, and it didn't take them long to realize that they were competing against each other in the class. So they were really excited to play that part of it. The only problem with it is it does have an advertisement, which I couldn't get rid of. And after that, then again, we followed up with the assessment of Kahoot It, 5 more questions. And I set it up so that they could actually play this at home. When they're in class, the teacher can run it from this webpage. The only problem is I don't know how to set it up so that the teachers get the results. And again, I say 85% of students will average 3 or higher on a 5-question evaluation, where they use tape diagrams to solve real-world math problems when given a ratio between 2 quantities and a change to those quantities that changes the ratios, which sounds so complex, but it really isn't as hard as it sounds, especially by the time you get to this point in the lesson. So that's how I applied Roblier's design process into actually designing my webpage. I guess you can see by going back here how each level builds upon itself. The games, so this is the game portion, this is the video portion, and the assessment. Game portion, video portion, assessment. Game portion, video portion, assessment. So that hopefully we can gradually build their skills to a proficient or advanced level. As far as evaluation, I had a feedback section on my webpage, and I had requested 4 teachers to provide me with feedback, and so far I've only had 1 of the 4 reply, and that was Mr. Clough. If you click on following survey, it actually shows you my Google form that I made with all the questions that I was requesting information and feedback on regarding my website. Mr. Clough was the only person who's replied so far at this point in time, and as you can see, he gave me all 5s all the way across the board. He said that this is a great resource, and I would make the text larger on the Kahoot game. So I don't know if I really hit it out of the park. I would have thought too that not only would they mention making the text larger on the Kahoot game, but also the fact that you had to use the links instead of using the embedded games because of the iframe not working. I thought those would at least be mentioned. But yeah, so I'm waiting for the feedback for the other teacher. As soon as I get that feedback, I'll add that into my evaluation information. But pretty much they said the objectives and the activities and everything just aligned with not only the Common Core, but also the goals that I had set as a whole for the class and for the students using the webpage. So when reflecting on my project, some changes I plan to make is obviously I need to make the Kahoot, the writing in it a little larger so that it's easier to see on a display for the classroom setting. I'd like to figure out how to fix my iframe situation with the embedding issue that I'm running into. I don't know why it was working and now all of a sudden it's not, but for some reason I'm wondering if I can directly link or find the link directly to the game on the game's website so that I can embed it directly as opposed to having embed the whole web page itself. If I can do that, then I'm hoping I can get rid of that problem of having the page not show up within my own web page. And my only other really thing is to make sure that I provide more time for students to play so that it increases the probability of them doing well on the Kahoot sessions the first time they actually take that Kahoot assessment. And those are the 3 main changes that I have thought of. I'd appreciate any feedback that you notice as well. And I thank you for your time.